In this video today, I thought I would talk a little bit about traveling, especially first time traveling for young people. I've traveled all my life. I started as a teenager. I visited more than 33 countries over the last years. I've lived abroad. I've spent months in some countries, days, weeks in others. But I kind of take it a little bit for granted, and just book my flights, get on a plane, and go somewhere. And I've done that quite a lot of times on my own. I've been to places in Europe, lots of places in Europe, and I've been to places outside Europe. I've flown on my own to South Africa, to Brazil, to Turkey, to the Ukraine, Malaysia, Thailand. So there's a lot of places that I've been on my own, but I realize that I can do that because it's a skill that I built up from going closer home to places which are not so scary and far away and on my own. So I think I'd like to give a few pointers to somebody who may be starting off, late teens, early 20s, never been out of the UK, never been abroad, but really would like to start traveling, would like to explore a little bit. This spurs from a conversation that I had with a young man just a couple of weeks ago, and saying that he'd never been outside the UK, he'd never been on holidays, but would love to go and visit Italy or something. And asked, what do you think? If it's useful, it's useful. If it's not, then just click on something else and go somewhere else. So first of all, I think easy and close and safe is your best bet to start off. You need to do your research, you need to plan. Maybe you go on YouTube and watch some videos about traveling, videos about traveling in Europe, videos about traveling budget airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet and so on. Some of their restrictions in terms of the kind of baggage you can take, what you can get away with, what you could take on an airplane without paying extra, or what is worth paying extra for. So you can research those. There's loads of videos on YouTube which explore those aspects. Here is where I would like to just talk about a couple of basic, very, very basic things to think about at the beginning. So first of all, suggestions of where to go. I said close and safe and easy to get to and cheap. My top picks, would be city breaks. City breaks are very popular. There's a handful of cities in Europe which are very city break friendly, and you can go and visit those places and stay in somewhere at a quite reasonable price. In terms of staying, a lot of people look at Airbnbs and stuff like that. I suggest hotels. Let's just go for a hotel. You arrive, you check in, you get your room, you pay per room. So if you're going with a friend, you pay for the one room for the two people staying in the place. You don't have to clean up the room. Somebody else will do that after you've left. And there's a wider choice, whereas with Airbnb, they now expect you to make sure that you've cleaned the place up. Otherwise, you then charge an extra charge for somebody that they have to hire to come and clear the place. And I think it's, all the years that I've traveled, I've avoided Airbnbs. So my top pick for an easy and cheap place to go from the UK would be Porto, the city of Porto. I live in South Wales, so the way I get to Porto, and I go frequently, is I get a Flixbus from Newport, outside the train station in Newport, directly to the airport in Bristol. And if I book that ahead, it cost me maybe about £7 for the ticket for the bus, which is very, very reasonable. I've actually paid 4 or 5 in the past. Newport, Bristol Airport. Bristol Airport flies all over Europe. They fly to a lot of places. They fly several places in Spain, in Greece, Italy. You'd be surprised where you can get a flight from Bristol. If you fly to Porto, and the airport is just outside the city, and it is a train drive, a metro ride from the actual airport, and the ticket costs about €2.85 into the center of the city. In the city of Porto itself, and across the river, just across the river, there's another city connected, which is Vila Nova de Gaia, or Gaia. And there are hotels in Gaia and there are hotels in Porto, and they're quite central, very easy transport, right on the metro line. One of the places that I use to look for hotels is booking.com. So booking.com, you can look at the locality, look at how far you want to be outside the center. Food in Porto is generally cheap if you avoid down by the riverside. Down by the riverside, it starts to get expensive because it's a tourist trap. But there are so many choices, so many places to try out. It's a city which is, there's a lot of up and down hill, but it's quite easy to walk around and see the sights. It's also a metro ride from out by the beach. This will also depend on what time of year you want to go. The weather in Porto can be quite changeable. It can be quite wet. It's not Mediterranean. It's on the Atlantic coast. So, for example, now is August and it's raining and it's quite cool. In the summertime, even in March, April, May, it can be quite nice. It may rain, it may not rain, maybe a little bit of rain. So it's not something that you want to try out if you really want to go for the sun. If you want to go for the sun, there are other options. So that's Porto. Very, very cheap, very, very easy in terms of getting to and from the airport. Barcelona is a very popular choice as well. In Barcelona, you're looking at an airport which is outside the city again, and a train ride from the airport into town. And again, Barcelona is probably a little bit more, well, considerably more expensive than Porto, but it's a beautiful city. Definitely something to visit. 2 nights, 3 days, 3 nights, 4 days. A third option may be something like Italy, Rome. Rome has 2 airports, so depending which airport you will fly into, you need to look at the transport again. So this is always the case. Look at the transport to and from the airport. The airports in Rome is a train ride into the city. It may be 15 euros for a train ride. You need to make sure that you know how much you're going to spend on the transport the other side, so that there's not all these surprise hidden costs that you have to think about. If you're looking for like more touristy, beachy place to visit, then you need to think about times of year, and you might think of something like Greece or the Canary Islands, which again they're quite easy to get to. Lots of flights to and from, which means that they're not overly expensive. Last year I went for a weekend to Tenerife, and the flights were, I went with a friend, they were like £150 each or something, but we had friends there, so we stayed with them. So that reduced our cost, but then the cost that I would have spent in accommodation, I actually used to hire a car. Car hire is something to think about. If you can afford and you are able to hire a car, that can sometimes be an option, but there is an age limit. If you are not over, I think it is 25, if you're under 25, it could be impossible to rent a car. So don't count on the ability to just turn up and, oh, we'll rent a car. Research that kind of thing. So other pieces of advice are, go with a friend. You're starting off, you're learning to travel. So take somebody that you trust and both go on and do the adventure. When I fly, I very often will fly with EasyJet. The app is very, very easy to use. I can choose my dates. I can choose where I want to leave from. So I put Bristol, and I can put the destination that I'm looking for. And if they have flights from there, then the flight dates will turn up. You look at the dates, and then you flick through and you choose which of the days that you want to arrive and which of the days that you want to leave. If you can be flexible on your arrival and departure days, you can actually figure out which are some of the cheapest flights. I have flown to a place for 26 euros or 26 pounds. And then, you know, on the return flight would maybe cost me 50 something. So I'm under £100 for a return flight. That's not counting baggage. So you need to choose how much baggage you're going to take, or are you just going to do backpack? And if you're going to do a backpack, you can't use much in terms of the clothes that you pack in. If the weather could be cool and stuff, then you just put on the layers and the coat and fill your pockets and stuff like that. But if it's very warm where you're going, you're not going to want to take a lot of clothes. So you can do the bare minimum. But remember, you can buy stuff there. You don't have to take your toiletries. You don't have to take your deodorant and your toothpaste and your shampoo and your body wash. Those things you can leave at home. And when you get there, find a supermarket and go buy some cheap stuff. It's cheaper than paying like 30 or 40 pounds to take a bag, because you have to take those things. Anything you forget, you can buy somewhere. Remember, the locals where you're going to visit, they take showers as well. So all the stuff that you need is going to be there. So that's just a couple of things to think about. And happy planning.